So Channel 5, clever old them, have got a big documentary coming out, and the star of the documentary is Thomas Markle. Now, of course, there's been this very dramatic fallout between Meghan Markle and her father. Indeed, at the wedding, the only member of her family that was there was her mother. But some of the things that Thomas Markle is saying are, I think, all right, it's his side of the story, but they're pretty damning.
Are you serious?
The documentary is going to be aired fairly soon, but we have got some clips of it already. Let's have a listen to Thomas Markle.
This is like one of the greatest long-living institutions ever.
Okay.
They're destroying it. They're cheapening it. They're making it shabby. They're turning it into a Walmart with a crown on it now. It's not. It's something that's ridiculous. They shouldn't be doing this.
Pretty damning comments. Well, to assess to what extent they are behaving in a shabby way and damaging the institution, and in particular, to carry on with that theme, and it's interesting, wasn't it? Caller after caller before the break saying they were worried for Harry and what he would do giving up all these associations of a life that he knows here. Well, I've got a proper Harry expert with me.
That doesn't make sense.
This morning, because I've got Angela Levin, royal commentator, biographer and author of Harry, Conversations with the Prince. Angela, welcome to LBC, and thank you very much indeed for joining us. Last week I had some people on saying, you know, they can't have their cake and eat it, they can't privatise the monarchy, and I think public opinion was pretty much there, and the Queen, it appears, has acted decisively. But if they're going to go off, live on Vancouver Island, make their money in Los Angeles, is there a danger that they are cheapening the monarchy?
Good question.
Well, I think the very reason why the Queen has given them a sort of farewell, sugary coated farewell note, is because she feared that, and she wants to make sure that they are no longer representing the royal family.
Really, nigga?
They're not going to do any engagements on her behalf. The things that Harry's like most, which is the military, is no longer going to be allowed to have any association with that officially. They've got to pay back the £2.4 million that they've spent on renovations of Frogmore Cottage in Windsor.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
And they're not going to be funded by the public anymore. So that is an answer to the question of, is she worried? Most certainly. I mean, they wanted to come out with something called progressive royalty.
Okay.
And,
yes, I couldn't work that out at all.
We don't know what that is, but she wasn't going to give it a chance. And again, what your listeners have said, you can't be half in and half out. You can't cherry pick. You can't have your cake and eat it. There's lots of ways of explaining it, but you're either in or out.
Fact.
Yeah, it's the firm, isn't it?
It's the firm,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Now, you know Harry pretty well. Just explain the extent to which you know him and you've followed him to LBC's listeners.
Yes.
Let me put it in a language you can understand.
I wanted to write about Harry because I thought that he'd look more mature. He was cooperating with the royal family. It was 2017, and so I was allowed to follow him on engagements for about 15 months.
How? How did they think that was okay to even put it in the game?
Throughout all that time... Wow. And if you like watching people like I do, you learn quite a bit about them during that time. Throughout that time, I kept asking at regular interviews and ever so politely if I could get to interview him at Kensington Palace.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
And I said, no, he never does interviews. And then suddenly I got a phone call saying, are you free tomorrow afternoon? You can have 20 minutes with the Prince.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Well, as you know, 20 minutes is nothing, really. You don't get anywhere. But I thought, well, the way I'm going to get round this is to ask him a question that is so important that he will let me stay longer. So I thought about it carefully, went to the palace, hello, how are you? He always welcomes you with a joke, well, he used to anyway, and sat down and he said, OK, I think you've got a lot of questions. And I said, yes, well, my first question, Your Royal Highness, is that I've seen you talk to children who come from very damaged homes.
Okay.
I've seen you talk to ex-servicemen and women who've been psychologically as well as physically damaged. You've made the most incredible impact on them. But I'm wondering whether you use these opportunities to also look after your own mental health.
Wow. That was some question.
So there was absolute silence, and I thought, I'm either going to get thrown out or it'll work.
So in for a penny, in for a pound.
Long pause, and he said, that's a very big question.
Good job.
Another long pause, and then he said to me, you're right, of course. And the tone of the conversation was very, very different after that. It was risky, but it was worth
very
it.
interesting.
Are you serious?
And you made a comment there that I thought was really interesting at the start when you said that he'd welcome you, or he'd welcome people with a joke.
Yes.
And then you said, at least he used to.
What is he doing?
He's beginning to believe.
Because
Yes.
I don't know, but it seems to me that over the course of the last 6 months or more, he looks miserable, he looks haunted, we've seen some tears in public. I mean, marriage isn't making him happy, or have I got that wrong?
I don't like where this is going.
Well, I don't know about the marriage not making him happy, but I don't think he feels he's making Meghan happy enough. And I think that's weighed on his mind a lot.
Women.
And of course, we discovered today that, in fact, the Queen has known quite a long time about their unhappiness of being part of the royal family. And I suspect that, you know, they've been talking about this and she's got more and more unhappy, which we heard about in South Africa when she said she felt she was existing and not living.
What do you mean by that?
Well, if that wouldn't make a new husband of under 2 years very unhappy, I don't know what would.
No, okay, no, I get that point. But part of it is because of it, and indeed the Queen herself, said as a result of intense media scrutiny over the last 2 years, although, of course, all the royals get intense media scrutiny. But very interesting, isn't it?
Why? Why?
Because if they're going to get away from media scrutiny, but to make money, they're going to be, in the Los Angeles West Coast life. I mean, surely they've got this wrong. Isn't the media scrutiny going to get even worse?
Well, that's my view, actually. At least they're going to swap it. They're going to swap it from being in the royal spotlight to being in the celebrity spotlight.
Yeah.
I don't think Meghan's really understood the difference between the two. Harry explained it to me in one of our conversations.
Wow.
And he said that if you're royal, you have to be there 24/7, and you have this sense of duty that keeps you there and drives you. If you're a celebrity, you pick and choose who's going to do your PR, which papers you're going to talk to, and when you're going to talk to them.
Fact.
Harry will always be famous. In our eyes worldwide, he's hugely loved. He's second most popular royal to the Queen, and he will still be a prince in everybody's eyes.
Are you sure about that?
And they will, with a different kind of publicity.
But Angela, what will he do?
Well, that's also very
And she
true.
can go back to, they've got Disney voiceovers they've been pitching for. She might do some acting again.
Gay!
She might go on the Oprah Winfrey show. I mean, you can see that she can have a completely full life out there. What does he do?
She's also got loads of friends and good connections, which Harry won't have that either. Or his family. I think that's a really big problem. He's never worked in the way that you or I might think of work, and he's had lists of what he's going to do written out for him, planned months and months and months ahead.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
He won't work in an office. He told me he can't bear sitting in an office looking at a computer. He gets very agitated by it. It's very, very difficult. I hope he will keep up the Invictus Games charity which he's involved in, and also Centabile, which is this charity in Africa, which is for young kids who are whose parents have died of AIDS. or they are suffering from HIV. But that's not enough to keep a man in his mid-30s busy.